Hi guys, and welcome to Katie's Insight, where I give my insight on everything and anything basically that I want to, but I have a breaking story for you. I hope it gets out in time. I had a whole nother video planned, so tomorrow if you see another video in a rainbow shirt, you will know why, but this is really big. At least in my opinion, it's big for several reasons. So as we know, Trump and Biden have been locked together in a battle over who's winning the election, who is the president-elect. To date right now, Trump has tried 34 different legal maneuvers that have been rejected. So a lot of what he's tried continues to be rejected, and thus far, a lot of this stuff isn't really going anywhere. At least that's from what we, the people, are seeing. And in this process, he is not letting Joe Biden do the transition. So typically when we have a president-elect, what ends up happening is they end up having that transition period from sometime in November until January 21st, where they have access to different funds. They can do different types of planning for when they come into the office, and they can hit the ground running. And Trump has basically said, no, not gonna let it happen. However, today, Trump finally conceded to allow Biden's transition team in. So what does that mean? Is Trump conceding? Like, what's going on here? And I'm going to dive into all of that with you guys and give you the up-to-date info so we know what is going on, because it's been a cluster, as you know, with this election. I think we all kind of figured it would be, but I think we still have a lot of twists, turns, and surprises, not because I want them. This is just what I'm seeing happening. And before we begin, guys, if you could help me out and help this channel, and please give this video a big thumbs up, like our video, subscribe, hit notifications so you can be notified what's coming in the pipeline for you and your stimulus money. Also, sound off in the comments. I want to hear everything you have to say. And please share this content with anybody that you know is struggling right now. People are on unemployment, waiting for unemployment, stimulus checks, SBA loan and grant issues, bill issues, or you just enjoy politics. I have tons of resources to help people, and I've got a lot of political videos that you might find interesting. And guys, giving away $100 gift cards. Very simple. To win one, this is all you have to do to be entered. Like every video you see, subscribe, hit notifications, comment, share the content, boom, you're entered, you're eligible. That's all you have to do. Make sure and do that for every single video that you see. And the more comments you leave, the more chances you have to win. If you leave 100 comments, 100 times more chance that you are going to win a gift card. Yay! Good luck. I want everybody to win, but I don't want to go bankrupt. So everybody win, and I get rich, and then I can help everybody. That's what I want to do. Also, guys, Facebook, add me, Katie's Insight. Join the group, Katie's Corner. We'll be changed to Katie's Insight soon, but right now it's Katie's Corner. We'll be helping with all of your stimulus issues and all of your stimulus needs. We are actually helping people on a one-on-one basis find help in their area, thanks to British Gray. Hey, girl, hey. So let's go ahead and let's dive into exactly what is happening and what this means for us. So we have the Wall Street Journal pulled up, and it says GSA sends letter to Biden making resources available for the transition. It says the agency has held up federal resources amid Trump's legal challenges to election results. And this is from the Wall Street Journal. So this is what it says. It says, this is from Washington, President-elect, or at least this is what the media is saying so far, Joe Biden's transition to the White House will formally begin after the administrator of a federal agency determined Monday that he legally qualified for the resources and services available to the winner of the presidential election, ending a delay that had come under increasing criticism from members of both parties. And for those of you that are wanting the GSA, that's the General Services Administration. So I guess those are the people that would actually be the people that would help in terms of helping this transition come into play. And so it says, Mr. Trump said he had instructed aides to cooperate with the transition approved by General Services Administration head Emily Murphy, though he pledged to continue his long-shot legal efforts to overturn the election. And this is what he said on Twitter. I believe we will prevail, he said. I want to do this with my hands and put my lips out. I believe we will prevail. I can't do it. Nevertheless, in the best interest of our country, I am recommending that Emily and her team do what needs to be done in regards to the initial protocols, and have told my team to do the same, he said. The decision by the GSA comes as Michigan on Monday certified the results of the election, and legal setbacks piled up for Mr. Trump and his allies. No evidence of significant voter fraud had been produced, and Republican allies in Congress had signaled growing impatience with Mr. Trump and his team, though party leaders haven't publicly pushed him to concede. So it's interesting because there are some areas right now of the government and the Congress that are really pushing him, but like some of the top people, except for people like Pelosi, right? Nobody's actually pushing him for that. which is weird. In fact, Mitch McConnell, evil old Mitch McConnell, was all on board to have Trump leave the office. He ended up having a meeting with Trump and a meeting with some different people, came out and said, nope, I think that there's going to be a Trump transition. And we've also had different people from different parts of the government say that they think Trump is going to continue to stay in office. So it's, again, everything's just weird, guys. So it says, in a letter to Mr. Biden, Ms. Murphy, the GSA administrator, cited recent legal developments and certifications of state election results in explaining her decision to stop blocking the resources. I have determined that you may access the post-election resources and services described in my presidential transition legislation, she wrote. The actual winner of the president election will be determined by the electoral process detailed in the Constitution, which doesn't happen until December. Ms. Murphy had declined to name the apparent winner of the election, a technical designation that allows the federal government to begin cooperating with the president-elect in the aftermath of the Associated Press's November 7th decision to declare Mr. Biden the winner of the election. Without the GSA's designation, formerly known as an ascertainment, Mr. Biden's team wasn't allowed to receive high-level classified briefings and was denied more than $6 million in government funds. Mr. Biden's transition operation also had been blocked from accessing federal agencies where career government officials had prepared briefing books to ease the transition from one administration to the other. Today's decision is a needed step to begin tackling the challenges facing our nation, including getting the pandemic under control and our economy back on track, said Johannes Abraham, the executive director of Mr. Biden's transition team, adding that the transition would begin meeting in the coming days with officials from federal agencies. Lawmakers of both parties have raised concerns that the lack of high-level intelligence briefings could pose a national security threat. Presidents-elect typically get access to the president's daily briefings, which details the government's most recent secret intelligence. Ms. Murphy, in her letter, said the decision was not made out of fear or favoritism, adding that she hadn't received any direct pressure from Mr. Trump or the administration officials to delay her decision. She said she had received, people who were saying, if you don't do this, then I'm going to do something bad to you. Please infer. I don't want you two being mad at me. Meant to coerce me into making this determination prematurely. Mr. Trump thanked Ms. Murphy, saying she had been, people were mean to her and crossed lines. Same word that I used before. And people were just really bad and bad to her. Please infer. I wish I could use the words, but I don't want YouTube getting mad at me. And I do not want to see this happen to her, her family, or employees of the GSA. The House has received the letter from Ms. Murphy. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, as spokeswoman Drew Hamill said Monday. Senior Democrats in both the House and the Senate have called on Ms. Murphy on Monday, calling on her to make the official election ascertainment. Lawmakers from both parties have worried that the GSA delay was beginning to hinder Mr. Biden's transition, preventing him from receiving classified briefings and preparing for the distribution of a virus vaccine expected to largely take place during his term in office. While GOP leaders haven't called on Mr. Trump to concede, a slowly expanding group of Republicans had said Mr. Biden's transition should begin immediately. We've been hearing more calls for this. Mr. Biden and Ms. Harris should begin receiving all appropriate briefings related to national security and virus to facilitate a smooth transfer of power in the likely event that they are to take office on January 20th, Senator Shelley Moore Capito from West Virginia said Monday. While Mr. Trump has a right to request recounts and raise legal claims, at some point the 2020 election must end, she said. Interesting choice of words, she said. In the likely event that they are to take office. What happens if they don't take office but they've been briefed on all this stuff? I'm just asking what happens then. Like, what's the process then? What do you do when they have all this inside info on stuff? Senator Rob Portman said in an opinion article in the Cincinnati Enquirer that the GSA should begin the transition process. This is only prudent, he wrote. There is no evidence as of now of any widespread, I want to be so careful how I say things, widespread voter blank. Please infer, like things not going correctly or irregularities that would change the result in any state, he said. Mr. Trump should put the country first, and have a prompt and orderly transition to help the administration succeed, said Senator Lamar Alexander from Tennessee, who is retiring. When you are in public life, people remember the last thing you do. Unfortunately, that can be very correct. The mechanics of the presidential transitions are governed by a 1963 federal law that leaves it to the administration of the GSA to certify a winner and set the process in motion. Historically, the agency has accepted media projections of the winner as a basis for beginning the transition process. However, the law is vague on what standard the GSA administrator should apply in making that determination, a potential barrier or any legal challenge by Mr. Biden. The law says only that the administration shall be determined the apparent winner, with no instructions on what that should mean in the event of a dispute or a challenge. In past elections, with the exception of the 2020 election, the GSA has ascertained a winner within hours or days of election night. Interesting. So the head of the committee, the GSA, the head of that committee that does the transitions, has now said, we are going to go ahead and let Biden do the transition. But as you heard, which I'm going to get into a little more in just a second, Trump isn't necessarily backing down. He says he's still going after things. He is still working on the side of the lawsuits and seeing what they can do there. Unfortunately, they do keep losing. However, I've said this before and I'll continue to say this. Trump is such a weird wild card, guys. He's such a weird wild card that he's quiet, too quiet. I said this in the other video, kind of like a toddler. You know something's up. They're up to something, right? And I just feel like Trump has been so insanely quiet. I have a hard time fully trusting what's going on over there, if that makes any sense. So I have a couple things I want to go over with this. I think gives a little more context. This is what Trump tweeted. Trump said, I want to thank Emily Murphy and the GSA for her steadfast dedication and loyalty to our country. She has been blank, blank, and blanked. People have not been nice to her, and I do not want to see this happen to her, family, or employees of the GSA. Our case strongly, in big capital letters, strongly continues. We will keep up the good fight, and I believe we will prevail. Nevertheless, in the best interest of our country, I'm recommending that Emily and her team do what needs to be done with regards to the initial protocols, and have told my team to do the same. So that is what he said so far. Now, we have an interesting letter that's come out about some of this stuff. So this is from today. This is to Emily Murphy. I'm assuming this was before the news had broke when it came to what was going on with this letter, but here's this. Listen to this. Dear Administrator Murphy, last week we requested that you brief us and our ranking members on your ongoing refusal to grant the Biden-Harris transition team access to critical services and facilities specified in the Presidential Transition Act of 1963 and millions of dollars in funding that Congress appropriated on October 1st, 2020 for transition activities under the Act. We asked for this briefing to occur by today, and we explained that the results of your briefing would help inform whether we bring you, your deputy, your chief of staff, and your general counsel to testify at a public hearing. Earlier today, our staff received an email from your office indicating that your deputy would provide the briefing instead of you, but that this briefing would not occur until next week. Your staff's email also indicated that you may have some type of problem with your ability to set up video conferencing this week. We cannot wait yet another week to obtain basic information about your refusal to make the ascertainment determination. Every additional day that is wasted is a day that the safety, health, and well-being of the American people is imperiled as the incoming Biden-Harris administration is blocked from fully preparing for the virus pandemic, our nation's dire economic crisis, and our national security. In order to address the logistical concerns raised in your staff's email, we are willing to host the briefing. We can use WebEx, Teams, or any other platform that Americans across the country now use routinely. If you are unable to utilize one of those platforms, we will set up a conference call via telephone. In the spirit of accommodation, we are willing to host this briefing tomorrow at any time that is convenient for you. We are currently reserving 10 a.m., 2 p.m., and 3 p.m., and we can also work with you to accommodate another time tomorrow. In order to arrange this briefing, we ask for your response by 5 p.m. today. And this letter was written today, guys. The Committee on Oversight and Reform is the principal oversight committee of the House of Representatives and is broadly authorized to investigate any matter at any time under the House Rule X. The Committee on Appropriations has oversight of executive departments and agencies to assist in the determination of appropriations of revenue for the support of the government under House Rule X. And this is signed by several different people of the House. So this is House of Representative members sending this over. So I assume this letter came, again, before this news broke, because what they're saying in this letter is they wanted to have a briefing about the refusal of them being able to grant Biden and Harris transition team access so that they can do the transition. And apparently she's been saying, I can't do a meeting, I can't do a meeting. And then they said, well, how about this week, next week? So they're calling her out and they're like, here's some times we have available tomorrow. Respond to us by 5 p.m. or else. At the same time, we've also seen House and Senate members say respond by this time or else to the SBA. And of course, nobody or very few people got their $10,000 grant, which is just still a really big thorn in my side when it comes to all this stuff. It still leaves, I think, a really horrible taste in everybody's mouth. And is not real healthy for somebody's life and sustaining their life. Please infer. But I wanted to go over this because I thought this is really interesting. And guys, this doesn't necessarily mean things are over. Now, I mean, if I'm being honest, it doesn't bode well for Trump. And this doesn't look good for Trump trying to overturn this election in his favor. So all the signs aren't real good right now for Trump. However, with me saying that and that being said, I told you once and I'll say it again, Trump is a wild card. That's why I kind of never say never with Trump. And it's not because I'm some big Trump supporter or whatever. It's just because I've watched and studied these characters. And, I would not be surprised if Trump found a way around this. And then that leaves the question, let's say that happens. What happens here? Like I said, because now these individuals know all of this secret intelligence information they're not supposed to, and they had access to all this money when they didn't really win. What's the process there? Do they have to pay that back? What happens? And speaking of that, I want to go into one more thing. I was going to do a video about this, but I got carried away with other stimulus things because we've had so much stimulus news. I'm trying just to get it out in the best way that I can. 3 videos a day is not easy, especially when your internet is just barely limping along. We've had our 3rd appointment today with Cox Cable to try to get this fixed. I'm sorry, every time I say the cable company's name, I giggle a little bit, just like Mnuchin. I saw some of you in the comments, you're like, I will never be able to see Mnuchin's name the same. I'm like, you know what? I brought you into my nightmare. My rainbow-colored nightmare. I love this shirt. Oh my God, it feels so good in it. So, but I want to bring up something really funny. I'm looking it up right now. So, if you guys remember on Joe Biden's website, right? And actually, I'll go there right now and let's see if it's still there on joebiden.com. I actually, instead of typing Joe Biden, I typed in H-O-E Biden. I didn't mean to. The J and the H are pretty close to themselves. Mnuchin. Anyway, so when you go on this, what had happened is, oh my gosh, it's different. The front page is now different. This is so funny. I'm sorry. When I say funny, it's like, it's really pandering. There's a picture of like a Native American on there, which beautiful. Hey, natives, hey. I don't know why on all this things need to be fair for minorities. Nobody seems to care about you guys. Really bothers me. Not that we shouldn't care about the other minorities. I'm just saying, can we give some love to the natives? Because there are some reservations that don't have electricity and running water, and we just allow this because it's not popular narrative to help them. It bothers me. Maybe the government realizes they can't use the natives in certain ways, so they don't. I just feel like they use everything to their advantage. And they act like they're kind and tolerant and they're wanting good things for people, and I don't believe it at all because they haven't done that in my opinion. So I want to go into, so when I go to Biden-Harris, what happened before initially was, when you go there, it was interesting because actually, where is it now? Hold on, guys. A lot has been removed. 1 second. There's like a letter from Joe Biden right now. What is this? What am I looking at? Okay, 1 second. Let me see. Oh, no, wait. I pushed the button and it turned to Spanish. Hold on. Joe Biden's plan. He had a whole website of like information. Hold on. It should be in my browser. Now, y'all, my blank theories are going. My blank theories are going right now. Okay, where is this? Joe Biden. The Biden Emergency Plan Act. Okay. There it is. Okay, if you go to that regular page, there's no buttons to get to where you could have gotten before. Okay, perfect. So the homepage doesn't have this. That picture of the pretty Native American lady doesn't have this. But like if you were to go to, let me tell you the site, joebiden.com/the-biden-emergency-action-plan-2-save-economy. If you go there, Check this out. The moment you start scrolling, there's something that pops up at the bottom. Together, we can make Trump a one-term president and defeat Republicans across the country. Donate today. And their donate button is still up. I called them out for this, if you guys remember. I called them out a while ago for this because I was like, why is this happening? What are y'all doing? Like, you can see that in the donation button. Go right now. Try it. You'll see. And they're still taking donations. If y'all won, why are you taking donations? It doesn't make sense. However, this is where it's going to get a little weird and dicey. We have from Business Insider, it says, Biden team solicits donations to fund presidential transition as Trump administration blocks federal money. Here we go. It's going to get weird. So they say President-elect Joe Biden's team is making a fundraising push to small dollar donors to fund its own transition effort, which comes as the administration of President Donald Trump still refuses to acknowledge Biden's election win, according to CNN. Now, obviously, this article is a couple days old, so take that and just know that's been updated. The General Service Administration, that was the GSA we talked about, which is tasked with signing off on a legal certification that would enable communication between Biden's team and the government staffers, are making millions of dollars available for Biden, has so far refused to budge on taking any action. Democrats say that the inaction is jeopardizing Biden's ability to immediately handle issues like the virus pandemic and stimulus negotiations once he takes office in January 2021. According to Politico, the GSA is required to ascertain Biden's win before the federal government will provide roughly $10 million in funding for the transition. Eddie Murphy, the Trump-appointed agency head, has come under fire in recent days for not starting the transition process. In an email to campaign supporters, the transition team highlighted the ramifications of the GSA's refusal to declare Biden the winner of the president-elect. The administration of the General Service Administrator of the General Service Administration is refusing to sign documentation called the Ascertainment Letter, which recognizes the apparent winner of the election, allows the incoming president-elect's team to begin the process of transition of power, and greenlights the coordination of the government with the incoming team, the transition said. This is all because Donald Trump's team would rather stick with partisan politics than do what's right. The transition team was reiterated that it would continue to work, but that additional funds were critical for their effort. We want to be clear. The Biden-Harris transition team will continue to steadily move forward, the transition added. But without ascertainment, we need the fund to transition ourselves. And that's why we're reaching out to you today. The government funding for Biden's team would fulfill critical transition functions, including paying staffers and agency review teams. The transition team began private fundraising efforts in June, reportedly raising more than $10 million so far, according to CNN. However, Friday's solicitation email was aimed at small dollar donors. Grassroots supporters like you made a Joe Biden presidency possible, the email read. Now we are counting on you once again to power us through this critical moment. While the Biden team has been considering legal options to force the Trump administration to begin the transition process, it remains unclear if that is an avenue they will actually pursue. The Biden-Harris transition team has been planning for months all the possible scenarios, a transition official said. While we wait for the GSA administrator to uphold the will of the people and the proper steward of taxpayer resources, we will execute our contingency plans, including continuing to solicit private funds to support transitioning plans. The nation faces too many challenges to not have a fully funded and smooth transition to prepare the president-elect and vice president-elect to govern on day one. Johannes Abraham, a Biden transition advisor and the former chief of staff of the Office of Public Engagement and Intergovernmental Affairs during the Obama administration, said that the lack of progress with the transition process could have serious consequences. This isn't a game of who gets to talk to whom, he said. Our inability to start the informal agency review process has the potential to have real impacts across the country. There's no replacing the real-time information that can come from the post-ascertainment environment that we should be in right now. Trump is currently hatching far-fetched plans to overturn his election loss to Biden, with his campaign continuing to pursue debunked election claims in court, as well as pushing for mass disenfranchisement by having GOP-appointed electors override Biden's win in Michigan and Pennsylvania. Now, this article, why did this article come out? Because Biden and Harris went to Twitter and asked people, again, the small donors, they asked them to continue to send them money and to continue funding things because they need that money for the transition team, and they got slaughtered on Twitter, which in my opinion, they should. I'm sorry. What is it? What does it women say? Oh, I hate this phrase. It's all right, not. It's all right. It really bothers me. It's like, no, because, and I'll tell you why it bothers me. because as women, we're conditioned to believe we have to constantly be kind. So we have to apologize for the fact that we don't want to apologize. It just makes no sense. And it makes me feel bad for the state of where women are at mentally because we've been gaslit and brainwashed. Why is it men are not raised? They're raised to be gentlemen, but they don't necessarily raised to be nice. We're women, we are raised to be nice and submissive and all of those things. And it's not that there's anything wrong with being nice, but you also have to know how to have boundaries, and you have to be able to also push that assertiveness. That has to be part of yourself as a woman, or not even in general, just as a functioning human being. Just feels like sometimes as women, we're raised to be accessories. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to get, you know, I don't know. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole in terms of like trying to say like, oh, you know, being a woman is horrible and all that, because I love being a girl. I'm just saying there are some real weird social inequalities. That's it. Just pointing that out. Like I've talked about, women's health is something that's not looked at all. Even when it comes to weight loss and weight gain, everything is derived towards the way a man loses weight and not how a woman does, and doesn't really take health of a woman into effect, or hormones, or chronic illness, or inflammation, or all these devices they put into us because we're the ones that have to do the birth control. Y'all, do y'all remember, was it a couple years ago, they tried to do male birth control and they stopped the studies because of side effects? They were just too bad for men. And a lot of us giggle, a lot of us ladies, because we're like, but nobody cares when it's us. I guess from a very young age, we are conditioned that we're going to go through, you know, 25, sometimes for some women, it's 50% of their adult lives. You are going to be sick. That really is what the whole thing is when it comes to hormones. You're going to be sick 25 to 50% of your life. Nobody cares. Doesn't matter how bad it is. Doesn't matter if it requires severe medical attention. Get on with it. Don't act like anything is wrong. So how crazy is that? Anyways, and I'm not trying to say, oh, men are bad, you know, hashtag not all men. I'm just saying we live in a weird society towards women. Thank you to all the wonderful men out there. I kind of got a little sidetracked, but I just thought this was really, really interesting because I thought a lot of people are going to say this is conceding. This means that Joe Biden has won. So the first thing is, it doesn't necessarily mean Joe Biden's won yet. We have to wait for the Electoral College to weigh in, and we have to wait for all these lawsuits with Trump to come to the forefront. Again, he keeps losing. It doesn't look good. But Trump is really good about taking a situation that doesn't look good and turning it around to his benefit. Not because I'm saying this is what I want, not because I'm saying that this should happen. I'm just telling you guys what I see from these crazy people I watch all the time, non-stop. Now, of course, this is a good step for Biden. This is a big old W for Biden, so I'm not trying to act like it's not. I'm not trying to take it away from him, but I am saying I think on both sides, both for Trump and Biden, nobody should celebrate prematurely because there's still some weirdness, wild cards, and uphill battles to go. And I can tell you, as you guys know, from going through my own legal thing recently, a lot of times it's not about how much information that you have and how correct you are, because believe me, in my situation, I had evidence for days. What depends is what evidence you end up presenting and how you present it, the timing of presenting it. There are all these different things that you wouldn't believe when it comes to the psychology of actually what to do with your evidence with the legal process. And this is what I learned. You can be in the right all day, every day. If you don't present it right, you don't put your argument right, you're dead in the water. So I think we shouldn't yet rule this out when it comes to Trump. However, yes, it doesn't look good, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Again, this is getting very weird. And here's something else. I just want to go into this. Biden is sitting on a lot of money, kind of like Bernie Sanders. They're two rich, white old men. Let's be very clear. It's funny because they are on the side of, you know, stuff that's a little more communistic or socialistic, even though I like democratic socialism if done correctly, or at least I like that in certain areas. It's always funny to me when people say, oh, you want socialism, our country's trying to go down. And I'm like, no, because we have socialism in this country. What do you think social security is? We have forms of it, like I've talked about. I think you need forms of, I think you need to marry different things. So we can have certain socialistic, like certain ways of being socialist, and also we can have certain things from capitalism. I think there's a way, and in fact, we are doing that in that country, right? We are doing it as it stands. But I always think it's funny that these rich, old, white, democratic politicians who have made bank, who are sitting on a few piles of millions of dollars, keep asking us when they know we have nothing for 5, 10, 20 bucks. Like, I'm sorry, but at this point, like, hey, Biden, couldn't you pay for this? Or don't you have enough rich friends that y'all can tap each other? Because remember, guys, like, just let's talk about senators. Starting salary, $179,000. That means Mitch McConnell is very easily making $250,000 just from being a senator, not to mention all the other money they get from other places. These people are wealthy. A lot of information's come out about all the business deals between the Bidens. I will just say that very, very loosely because I don't want YouTube to be upset with me. So why are these people funding this themselves? That's a question that I have. If you actually care about Americans and you know that we're struggling, why would you ask somebody who can't stay in their home, give me $5 when you're wealthy? And look, I can hear some people say, yeah, but this is going to be millions and millions of dollars, right? And so you can't fund all of that. I get that. But if they ran a campaign on 10 million, are you going to tell me, and they were able to raise $10 million from people, are you going to tell me that it's going to take more than 10 million to start the transition? I don't know. See, these are the questions that I have, and I don't have answers yet, but I'm somebody who is always questioning. I'm always asking and looking at what's going on. All I know is things typically don't look right and don't smell right, but welcome to America 2020. I feel like that's just like the general statement when it comes to this country at this point. Okay, guys, if you like this video, please give me a big thumbs up and like my videos to support me. Subscribe, hit notifications so you can be notified what's coming in the pipeline for you and your stimulus, political, or election news. Also, guys, sound off in the comments. I want to hear everything you guys have to say. And guys, please share this content with as many people as you know are struggling right now. People who are on unemployment, waiting for unemployment, stimulus checks, SB loan and grant issues, and everything in between. I've got tons of tools and tons of resources to help you through your very difficult times, and I would love to do nothing more than that. And guys, the more you like, subscribe, comment, notifications, and share the content, the more my channel grows, the more things I can do to give back to you. So for instance, I'm giving away $100 gift cards. Very simple to be entered. This is all you have to do. Like every video you see, subscribe, hit notifications, comment, share the content. Boom. You're entered, you're eligible. That's all you have to do. Make sure and do it for every video you see, and the more comments you leave, the more times you share, the more chances you have to win. So for instance, if you comment 100 times, 100 times more chance to win. Find me on Facebook, Katie's Insight. Like the page, join the group, Katie's Corner. Will be changed to Katie's Insight soon. If you don't find it, it will be under Katie's Insight. Make sure and go in there. You can ask all the stimulus questions you want. We have awesome people, awesome moderators. We're all helping each other to help find stimulus money in our different areas. So if you need help, come to our groups. We would love to help you. Okay, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end this here. Now, I hope this goes up. I don't know, sometimes YouTube gets mad at me for these types of videos when it comes to politics. And I understand the election is a very sensitive topic, but I also think it's very important as unbiasedly as I can to get this information to you in the way that I can. All right, guys, I'm going to go for now. Take care, blessings. I will see you soon. I will most likely see you tomorrow, or depending on when this video goes up, then I'll have more stuff later. I will just see you when I see you. Lots of love, hugs, kisses. Mwah. Bye, guys.